Are you afraid of the dark? It only took one good whack with the bottle to knock him out, which was good because she wasn't sure he'd allow her a second one. He fell, slumped over out of his chair, and landed with a great thud onto the living room carpet. Great, she thought. Now I'll have a good mess to clean up. She heaved a sigh and walked around the chair to take hold of his arms. The task of dragging the lout through the dining room, kitchen, and down the basement stairs was nearly insurmountable for a woman her size. But a lady's gotta do what a lady's gotta do. It took ages, and she was shocked that he hadn't woken up yet. He thunked loudly down the stairs as she dragged him, his head hitting each of the steps along the way. She smiled at that. It gave her a sense of accomplishment. She soon found that dragging him around was easier than heaving him up into the chair. That was a job, a nearly impossible one. At her grand height of 5 feet, she was an insect beside his gargantuan 6'4". She weighed barely 120 pounds next to his 230. So having gotten him this far was actually a damn good effort, if she did say so herself. Once he was good and strapped in, she began searching for the appropriate tools for the task at hand. She found several that she would like to use. A hammer would get her point across rather well, but she'd pay for that later. The nail gun had its perks, but the consequences would be dire. But the jigsaw, now that was the perfect tool needed. Maybe she would use them all. No one deserved it more. Yes, that sounded lovely. Lost in her thoughts, she nearly missed the telltale grunts and groans that signified his awakening. He was confused, at first, testing his restraints and darting his eyes around the room. When he at last rested them on her, he simply started laughing. It was a deep, drunken, guttural sound that she had come all too accustomed to hearing over the years. It was time to show him she meant business. She picked up the nail gun and walked slowly behind him, letting the confusion and utter realization of his predicament set in. She gave it a moment, letting him shake and scramble, pull and tug. She pressed the gun to his spine somewhere around S1 and pulled the trigger. A low wail tumbled from his mouth, smothered by the rag she had shoved in a few moments earlier. Fingers outstretched and back arching at the pain. He would most likely lose use of his legs after that. She gave herself a slight grin at this small triumph. She walked back around facing him and set the nail gun on the workbench beside her. She looked at him for a moment, trying to feel something, even a twinge of pity. She felt nothing but that empty, hollow pit that grew in her day by day. The fear, the worry, the tired back, the sore muscles, the low self-esteem. She felt hate. And she just looked at him for a moment before picking up the hammer. The look he gave her screamed of the punishment she would receive for this, before smashing the hammer across his jaw, watching it deform and arch to one side. She went to the other side and did it again. and it now hung loosely from its trappings, wobbling with each whimper, each cry. It sagged and shook as he trembled in pain. Deciding he'd had enough, she moved on to the saw. The finale. He sat staring at her from his wheelchair across the room. He hadn't even touched his supper. He growled at her through the clamped jaw that doctors say will never work properly again. The wheelchair was now a permanent fixture in his life. Now, Frank, you remember what the doctor told you about getting yourself worked up. It's not good for your blood pressure. She set down her knitting and sighed. And look, you haven't even touched your supper. She stood up and went to him, taking the napkin and unfolding it. He winced. She smiled, placing it on his lap. Now eat up. It's your favorite, she said, moving to the mantel above the fireplace. Along the knickknacks and photos was a trophy display. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman battered and bruised, but healing. The dark purple under her left eye was the freshest. The cut on her lip had begun to heal, but her nose, broken so many times, was crooked. She sighed and left the trophy case to return to her knitting. It was her favorite decoration, for in the trophy case were the well-preserved hands that would never hit her again.